Hello, welcome to Lansing Pulse. I'm Diana Dodd, Public Information Officer for the City of Lansing, Kansas. And with me today, I have Tim Vandall, City Administrator. How are you doing?
I am doing great.
Good. Well, thank you for coming over and visiting our side of the street.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the new set. It's very modern and I love
Thank you.
it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, couldn't keep the red wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we just came through a big storm.
Yeah.
Let's talk snow removal. I feel like our crews did a pretty good job. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that our team takes a lot of pride in is snow removal. Our street superintendent, Kenny Payne, has been with the city for, I want to say 30 years, almost 30 years. And he just does a fantastic job. The guys under him, I know the foreman's name is Chris Herman, and all of that crew does a spectacular job. But not only is it our street department crew who is pushing snow,
Right.
a lot of times it's our parks and recreation team that
Right.
chips in and they help out a lot also. So they do a fabulous job. And then I think we had Jim McGee, our facility guy. He did a lot of the parking lots around town. So just proud of the job those guys do. One of the things that I think sometimes residents don't understand or maybe don't see as much, a lot of times when you're pushing snow at night and it is snowing and it's pitch black out, it is tough. It is not an easy job. And it makes it even harder sometimes if there's cars parked on the street or just any other weather related issues. So we're just so grateful to the crew that did that. They always do a fabulous job. And, I'm thankful for them. It seemed like within just a handful of hours after the snow stopped, the roads were passable. And just grateful for those guys. They do a terrific job.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they do an especially good job, and it really, you said it can't be easy, and it can't be. I
Yeah,
mean, they're working 12-hour shifts.
absolutely. Yeah. So you think about it too, probably by the 11th hour of a 12-hour shift, you're getting tired.
Right.
Everything is kind of looking the same. So grateful to those guys. You think about too, it's, I don't think I could do that without clipping a couple of cars or something like that.
Right. That was my
And
fear.
and those guys are able to do that and maneuver those things around really well. And like I said, just grateful for the job those guys do. It's one of the things Lansing is known for. Just the quality of our infrastructure, the quality of our snow removal, and like I said, Kenny Payne, Chris Herman, that entire crew, they do a great job taking pride in the work they do.
So do we want to address sidewalks?
Yeah, we can talk about sidewalks a little bit. And that's that's one of those things. I think every time we put something online or send out a reminder, we will have people who are not happy about it. But kind of the genesis behind all of that, people need to realize and understand. We will have people call us to voice concerns that, hey, these kids are walking to school
Right.
in 6 inches of snow. Please remind people to push snow on their sidewalks. So, we try to do that. That's part of the city code. The sidewalk in front of someone's house is that person's responsibility. If it's a major trail or something like that, there's a few exceptions, but by and large, 90% of the time, if there is a sidewalk in front of someone's house, it is that person's responsibility to move the snow. I think the code says within 24 hours of the end
Right.
of the snowfall event. So I mean, we're not out there 15 minutes after the snowfall writing tickets or anything like that. But for people who have kids who are walking to school, for people who are walking dogs, and just in general, you don't want people slipping out in front of your house.
Right.
So we try to remind people to shovel their sidewalks within a reasonable amount of time. Like I said, every time we put that out, we get some folks who like to provide feedback to us, but that's part of working for a city is just giving people those gentle nudges that, hey, please shovel your sidewalk.
Right. Right. But I think one of the questions I got most frequently is, why doesn't the city do it
Yeah.
themselves? And so I think it would be helpful to answer that question
Yeah.
for people. Like, why doesn't the city do it?
Well, I mean, a couple things. We wouldn't have the manpower to send a crew out to every sidewalk
Right.
in town. I mean, that's kind of not feasible. And for anyone who wants to complain about property taxes, we'd probably have to have 20 people out there with snow blowers and shovels shoveling every sidewalk in town. So again, just in general, the sidewalk is the property owner's responsibility.
Right.
That takes place whether it's snow removal or if the sidewalk is completely falling apart and dilapidated in front of your house. The sidewalk is the property owner's responsibility.
Right.
Again, maybe there's a few instances if it's a large trail or something like that. There's a few instances where that's the exception to the rule, but by and large, 95% of the time, it's the property owner's responsibility.
Right.
And again, I think it's like that in probably every city around the country. You have a sidewalk in front of your house. That's something a person should be responsible for.
Right. And I did see a lot of posts from other cities nationwide
Oh yeah,
that
yeah,
had similar ordinances and were asking people to do the same. So it is
hmm
fairly common.
yeah, for sure.
So speaking of housing, we
Yes,
have lots of things happening in Lansing. We just yesterday got to tour the new, the second phase of
yeah,
Covington Woods.
uh-huh.
I thought those were pretty nice apartments.
Yeah, it was great. They extended an invitation to staff and the city council to take a tour of the new Covington Woods apartments.
Right.
And that is 50 units. I want to say they said about half are 3 bedroom, half are 2 bedroom,
What I heard.
3 bedroom, 2 bedroom. So about half and half. But they look like fantastic units. It looks like it's a great person for a great unit for a person who's just starting out. And really proud of the job those guys have done. That's going to be a great option for people in Lansing to live. Like I said, if you're just starting out, or if you're a single parent, or if you're in that income threshold, I think it's a fantastic option. It's going to be a beautiful place to live, a safe place to live, and we're excited about that. From an economic development standpoint, too, you think if there's 50 units there, and say there's 2.5 people per unit, that could be 150 people new to Lansing,
Right.
moving to our town, people who could be shopping at our businesses, people who could be working at some of our businesses as well. We always hear about the workforce shortage,
Right.
and part of that is there's just not a lot of places to live in Lansing. So if we're able to get more people moving here, living here, hopefully they'll be employed, they'll be enrolling their kids in school. I really think it'll be a win-win for our residents. So we're incredibly excited about that. That's part of I want to say the Kansas Housing Resources program or something like that.
Right.
So yeah, part of that is they got tax credits from the state of Kansas to help offset some of their costs. And in exchange for that, there's income rules for the types of people who can live there.
Right.
So I want to say like somebody who's making in the mid 40s would be able to live there. If a person is a single parent with a couple of kids, I want to say a person could make in the low 50s and still live there. So it's certainly a great option for people who are within certain income guidelines or income thresholds. And I think it's going to be really fabulous for Lansing in a few different ways.
Right. And when you mention those incomes, I envision teachers
Oh, yeah.
and police officers, firefighters, and then, just our young people maybe who
hmm
are graduating and
hmm
starting their first job. I remember what it was
Oh,
like to
yeah.
start out. We didn't have a lot of money. We lived
Yeah.
in an apartment. So,
And, another group of people that a couple of people who have reached out to the city and asked us that we pass along their information are some senior citizens, people
oh,
who
that's
are,
great.
maybe on Social Security. And if you fall into that, income range based on your income, a person could be eligible to live there too. So, lots of options for people to be able to live there. It fills a niche for what we need, and I really think it's a nice looking building. It looks comparable to the one right across the street.
Yep. I agree.
So yeah, I think it fills a few different needs for Lansing. It fills a niche, I think. So
Yeah.
we're excited about it.
Well, speaking of niches, there's also that sort of middle range single family home that's been missing from
Yeah.
Lansing, and we've got Monroe Manor, which
Yeah.
is getting started. So, but the thing about that one is the lots are a lot smaller
Yeah.
than we've typically had in Lansing.
Yeah.
So, can we talk a little bit about why we decided to do that, the city?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to say it all started. A lot of it started a couple of years ago. I know our community and economic development director, Josh Gensler, he was doing a lot of research about trends in single family homes and things like that. And I think if you look at a lot of suburbs outside of Dallas, Houston, Oklahoma City, you will see a lot of these subdivisions that have homes that are on 40, 50, 60-foot lots. And it's been kind of fascinating to see over the last decade that I think builders are getting more used to that.
Right.
Builders now have models for homes that fit into these tighter lots and they look great. Like you'd
Right.
never even think about it if you're just looking at the home. So, yeah, a big part of it started a couple of years ago, just looking at trends. And, the other thing to keep in mind too, one of the things that Lansing struggles with, and I think every city around the country is struggling with, is housing attainability.
Right.
And we talked about housing for young people as well. Um, and so when the lots are a little bit tighter, builders and developers can get more homes for the same amount of sewer line, the same amount of road, the same amount of dirt work. So
Right.
you're selling more product for the same amount of cost in a way.
Right.
That's one of the ways they're able to make the homes a little bit more attainable for people. I think the goal for Monroe Manor is to have homes in that lower 300 range.
Yes.
And we talked about this at some of our city council meetings, and we'll laugh a little bit because if you would have told me 15 years ago 300,000 is attainable, I would have laughed.
Right.
But if you look at the real estate landscape, the housing landscape for new homes, 300,000 is about as good as it gets. So the developer has partnered with Hakes Brothers to
Yes.
build all of the homes, and they've shown us some examples of homes that they've built in Texas that are on 40-foot lots.
Right.
And I want to say they're all at least 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom. I want to say most of them are 2-car garages.
Yes.
And some of that might vary a little bit for our subdivision, but the examples that they showed us from their subdivision in Texas, they looked like beautiful homes. And I think the Hakes Brothers team does a great job. We gave some examples in the Lansing Connection that'll be coming in the mailbox in the next couple of weeks, I think.
Yes. I think it's supposed to mail February 4th.
Yeah, so we gave some examples of what a couple of homes might look like, and again, it could vary a little bit, but I think it's going to fit another niche for Lansing as well. One of the things I always heard when I first arrived here in 2015, yeah, just generally about housing prices, but yeah, also where do these police officers, teachers, and people like that live? We
Right.
were able to have a great housing stock of homes that were 400,000 and above, but we really didn't have that middle class housing, I guess you will. And I think that's where that term missing middle was kind of coming from.
Right.
So it seemed like anytime there was a house that was even somewhat reasonably priced, there was almost like a bidding war.
Right.
And I guess if you're the seller of that home, that's a pretty good deal. But it's tough if you're just starting out and you're in a bidding war for a middle class home. That's tough.
Right.
A lot of it just comes down to supply and demand, like we talked about at that LCDC meeting. And so when you have more supply, hopefully that can bring housing costs and valuations down a little bit.
Right.
So I think it's really going to be a fabulous project for Lansing. The other thing that's probably worth noting, the that 4-letter word that was such a hot topic last year, that RHID.
Right.
We did an RHID for the Monroe Manor
Yes.
project as well. They structured it in a way where they really wanted to be accommodating to the city, to the school district, and to the county. So their projections have the incentive for 6 to 8 years. And so I try to tell people it'll probably be 8, but you never know. But so they tried to structure it for 6 to 8 years. And I would tell you, think of it as a strategic investment. If you are able to invest money for 6, 7, 8 years, and then at the end of that 8th year, you just have this huge windfall, who wouldn't want to do that, right?
Right.
So this is a great investment for the city. We think it's a great investment for the developer and a great investment for the builder.
And for those who may not know, RHID stands for Reinvestment Housing Districts.
Yes, Reinvestment Housing Incentive District. And
Right.
Um, I want to say we looked into it. There were maybe 70 or something like that around the state of Kansas. And it's kind of like a TIF district as well.
Right.
So some cities utilize TIF districts. And basically, I should have elaborated on that more, but it's basically utilizing the new property taxes just from that area,
Right.
not property taxes from where I live or where you live, just within that area. And it rebates those property taxes back to the developer to be used for infrastructure. So that rebate, the developer can't use it to go fly to Hawaii or something like that.
Yeah.
He's got to use that to offset his roadway costs, his sewer costs, and his water costs. And, maybe that's one other thing that we need to do a better job of educating residents of in Lansing and around the area. But I don't think sometimes people realize that when someone's building a new neighborhood, a new subdivision, the developer is the one responsible for constructing that road,
Right.
constructing the water lines, constructing the sewer lines. And so these developers have to spend millions of dollars on roads, dirt work, sewer, water, storm sewer. They have to spend millions of dollars before they can even sell one house.
Correct.
And so it was one of those things where we kind of tried to educate people last year, but there was just so much discussion that it was kind of a challenge. But that's one of the things that we just try to remind people that it's very challenging. I think sometimes people have this mindset of developers driving around in Porsches and whatever.
Right.
And maybe there is a little bit of that in
There are
Johnson
some. I'm
County
sure
or
there are
something.
some who exist who do that. Yes.
But at the same time, I mean, if it was this lucrative business that everybody was becoming a millionaire on, there'd be developers everywhere. And you look at the Lansing area, and there's really not. So it's incredibly risky. It's an incredibly challenging endeavor. And again, if the city can make a strategic investment where we can offset some of their roadway costs, sewer costs, infrastructure costs in general, and only for 8 years, we felt like that was a pretty good deal.
And to be clear, the residents of those homes will be paying property
Oh,
taxes
yeah,
just like everybody else.
absolutely. They will be paying property
Yes.
taxes like everybody in the city.
Right.
Yes. Yep.
Well, speaking of investments and planning, we're doing a new comp plan this year. I guess we're renewing the comp plan
Yeah.
this year. So let's talk a little bit about what that will entail, why we need to do it, and how residents can give input.
Yeah. So our comp plan is basically this big document that provides direction to the city for growth and development for the next 10 to 15 or 20 years. The last one that we did was in the 2013, 2014 timeframe. And with all of the discussion last year, I think we felt like it was an appropriate time to update that. And one of the things that I would tell you too about our comp plan from 2013, 2014, I think at that time there was a lot more building going on in Lansing, but also around that time frame, that was when we kind of knew Lansing High School was going on the west edge of town.
Okay.
We had just built Bernard Park. So I think there was a lot of thought about Lansing's going to grow to the west.
Oh, okay.
And I think that was maybe one of the prevailing thoughts 15 years ago. And, fast forward to today, and we really haven't grown to the west.
No.
And we don't have sewer lines out there. We don't have developers banging down our door to ask us to do infrastructure to the west of town. So I think that hasn't materialized the way we thought it would in the comp plan 15 years ago. And I think if you were looking into a crystal ball now, I think most people would say Lansing's growth area is probably to the south, especially along that K7 corridor.
Right.
So I know the comp plan will kind of look at ways we can try to grow responsibly. Another component too, going back to the comp plan from 15 years ago, there was no sewer lines down McIntyre Road 15 years ago.
Right.
McIntyre Road was a gravel road 15 years ago. And thankfully, Leavenworth County was able to update that and improve that road several years back. So it just kind of the growth and development patterns of our community have changed the last 15 years. And the comp plan will kind of update that and kind of give us guidance on how we want to grow. The other thing that I would say too, and we always try to remind people of this with any comp plan, is that it's a guide. Things can evolve, things can change, and a lot of times private investment, private development can dictate that change. But again, the comp plan, it's a guide. It's not written in stone, but it does give you guidance as far as where you may grow in the next several years.
And I know that Josh Gensler is putting together an advisory committee made up of both community leaders as
Yeah.
well as residents. He's going for a good cross section
Yes.
of people,
Yes.
I think, to try to get some varied input and opinions.
Yeah.
But there will also be chances for public input, like open houses and things like that. And we'll put more out
Yeah.
about how people can contribute to those as it comes along.
I want to say there's there's one overarching committee that Josh is working on that has maybe 15 or 16 people.
Right.
And I think most of the slots for that are filled.
Yes.
But I do want to say that the last one, there were a few subcommittees or something like that. And I'm not sure if this new one will have subcommittees as well. But like you had said, I think there's going to be chances for workshops for people to kind of give their advice and thoughts and everything. One of the things I thought was fascinating, and I think this took place at a city council meeting last month, but Mr. Councilman Kirby was talking about the comp plan last time, and he kind of clarified. He said, when we did this last time, there's some people who love it and some people who disagree with certain things on it. So it's important to remember that it's a citywide document.
Yes.
And some people might like the way the growth pattern looks. Some people might disagree with the way the growth pattern looks, but it's a citywide document. So we need to keep that in mind. And, some people are going to love it. Some people might be discouraged. But again, it's trying to show the best way for the city to grow over the next decade or two.
Well, I look forward to documenting it and participating
Oh, yes.
when I can. And
I'm sure you'll be there
Yeah.
with your camera and everything. And
I will.
Yeah.
You mentioned the K7 corridor earlier, and right up the road, we've got, Chief Stadium is
Yeah.
going to be built in about 5 years.
Yeah.
So football's on the brain.
Yes.
And of course, Super Bowl is coming up soon. Chiefs aren't in it,
Yeah.
sadly. Are you still going to watch?
Yeah, I'm excited to watch the Super Bowl. I'm glad Seattle got into it.
Oh, okay.
If it would have been LA and New England, I'm not sure I would have watched, but I'm
Fair.
excited. I think Seattle's got a really good team. I think they're battle tested.
Okay.
I think Seattle has a better quarterback, better running back, and better wide receivers.
Okay.
So if I had to make a prediction, I think the Seahawks will win, and I don't
Okay.
think it'll be very close. I think it will be a thumping by the
Oh,
Seahawks.
All right.
Yes,
All
that is my.
right.
Do you have a prediction?
I am actually pulling for the Seahawks as well. I
Okay.
am not as well versed in those two teams as you apparently are. I am very Chiefs focused.
Okay.
But no, I'm pulling for the Seahawks also.
Now you are from
I'm
North Carolina.
I went to school in North Carolina, but I'm from
Okay.
Tennessee.
Do you like the Panthers though? Do you follow the
No,
Carolina Panthers at
no,
all?
I don't. And when I was growing up, the
Oh, the
team
Titans,
that became
yeah.
the Titans were the Houston Oilers.
Yeah.
So I
Uh-huh.
was already grown and gone
Yeah,
by
yeah.
the time. So I don't really have any ties to either team, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Huh.
we being a military family, we tend to identify with whatever team was closest to where we were.
Yeah.
So we were Broncos fans for a
Uh-huh.
while,
Cool.
but my husband started watching the Chiefs before we ever even moved to Kansas.
Oh, okay.
So they
Good.
caught his attention.
Very
So,
good.
yeah. And of course, I kind of went along for the ride.
Yeah.
I'm more of a college football girl.
Uh-huh. Well, cool.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Yes. We'll see what happens. It's a week and a half away.
Yes. At any rate, we'll have a party, we'll eat food, we'll have fun, right?
We'll have a good time. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming, Tim. I appreciate it. And you've been watching Lansing Pulse.